5 by 5. Good morning, America. I do believe I may know. Well, there was some good news that was buried last week. Very interesting news is Karine Jean-Pierre, or Karen Jean-Pierre, that cute little black lady who was the spokesperson for the White House during the Biden administration, has come forward and said that all of the information that she gave on Joe Biden's mental abilities was told to her by upper staffers, the controllers, and that she had nothing to do with, she never herself verified his mental status. So I think that is a little bit of a step forward, but I think what we have here is the leaders of the Democratic Party. I don't think this is anything you don't already know. Pressing their constituents to commit crimes, that they have abandoned traditional political engagement and have turned to a very dangerous, very, very dangerous alternative way to engage politically in the United States. And I think it is time that that we call a spade a spade. If you're with me last night, you've seen this 27-second video. But this video is the leaders of the Democratic Party calling for their constituents to engage in criminal activity and violent activity. Let me turn my microphone off. And good morning, Assface. He is a toilet seat sniffer. Everybody has their thing, and I'm okay with that.
Sorry, I know some people's sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of in the mouth.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
I said if we were in high school, I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of them.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
Now, I could make an hour-long video of these exact same people doing the exact same thing. In Michigan Swamp Hopper, here's the rules for the morning I'd like to install. If people want to engage civilly, they are welcome to do so. And if you find any comments that you feel are angry or combative or not conducted in the spirit of debate, feel free to remove those people forever or do whatever you want with them. Blueski Mom, good morning. This Democratic Party needs to be dissolved. It is dissolving itself. That is the good news. It is dissolving itself. And what this Democratic Party is kind of being left with, although we do have to hold them accountable. There's no way that we can let these politicians that you've just seen on your screen, and many, many more, Maxine Waters has hours and hours of requesting violence from her constituents. But what we're seeing and what we're dealing with is, first of all, yesterday I was in a TikTok live stream. I was inspired by Killer Fuzz to join, and what it was a transgendered person who was asking the audience, how do you determine that a transgendered person isn't the gender that they are presenting in a bathroom? And I was silenced after I gave a very calm answer. First of all, I said, I don't want to engage with you angrily. I want to have a civil conversation. And she said, fuck you, and kicked me out of the chat. And then I came back in under a different account, and I went back up, and I said, the way you could tell is by their shoe size, the giant feet and the giant hands and the giant shoulders and their gape. And when a transgendered person walks, men have a different gait because men have completely different set of hips. Men have very high, narrow hips, and it forces their gait to be different. And women have a very low, wide hip, and it forces their gait to be different. It forces them to sit differently, and it forces them to walk differently. And I said to the audience, because there were 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 trans people in the live stream, I said, if everyone listening can close their eyes and listen to the voices that you hear, you can easily determine if you're listening to a man or a woman. So a blind person can easily tell if the person that they're speaking to, imagine that, a blind person says, thank you, sir, to a transgendered woman. Thank you, sir, because what he hears in his ears is a man. And imagine the anger that is created when we do that. Now, these transgendered people only go on TikTok and YouTube and say, prove me wrong about something transgenderism, for only one reason. Only one reason. They are trying to find someone who will validate them as a woman. They're trying to find a man that will validate them as a woman. Now, I have nothing against transgendered people. You guys go have all the fun you want over the age of 18. Under the age of 18, no, that's worth a battle. In my, if you can't get a tattoo at 17, you can't start taking very dangerous estrogen or testosterone treatments under that age. Over that age, you go have fun. But I can assure you of one thing: the only thing that your plastic surgeon can do is turn you into a eunuch. There's no plastic surgery in the world that can turn you into a woman. That magical science has not yet been created, and maybe someday it will. I do believe it's going to require taking a brain out of one body and putting it into another, because that's the only way to get the equipment required to be the opposite sex. And remember back in any time before the year 2000, it was called transsexual. And then they came up with this bullshit term that means exactly the same thing, called transgender. So they stole the word gender and redefined it. Much like they did the word marriage. if you're a plumber and you marry two pipes together, one pipe had to fit into the other pipe, which means you had to take a male adapter and stick it into a female adapter. That's the marriage of two pipes. So in the construction world, marriage indicates a male adapter entered a female adapter and they were married. The same thing goes actually for another instance of the degradation of the English language is the word retard. When you're a truck driver, you retard your brakes. You use your air brakes. You use your brake system to slow down your truck when you're coming down a hill and you don't want to use your foot brake. You can use your air brakes to retard the vehicle's performance. And now retarded is a bad word. Unless you're a truck driver, it's the thing that can save your life. Oh boy, your fingers are going to hurt, Swampy. I'm sorry. So I am very welcome to read the comments of anyone. Oh my gosh, we have 542 people in here. I wonder how I could slow down the chat. The engine brake, correct. Thanks for correcting me, BM. Jason says, I would just want to say that I want to take this time to thank the Lord Jesus Christ for someone like you. And my moment of need, I came across this, and I have to say I have not laughed harder. Right on. Right on. So, yesterday in session in Britain, one of the politicians stood up and he had 3 minutes to talk and he wanted to use his last minute. Okay, it's his time to speak. No one else in the whole room can speak. And he said, I would like to use my last minute for a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. And the opposing side, which I think in Britain is actually called the right, I think they flip-flop it there. The left is the Republican type and the right is the Democratic type. I could be wrong. They all started yelling. During his moment, he has 3 minutes, just like here in the United States, where you cannot interrupt that politician for X number of minutes. And the entire room stood up and started yelling. That is abusive, and it is, how would you say, passively violent. And passively violent is how these Democrats are getting away with what's going on right now. Now, I will say that it's not all Democrats. Back in the 90s, George Soros was investing mostly into George Bush. And oddly enough, George Bush is very much aligned and only connects with today's Democrat. He is not supported by any Republicans because he's still a part of the New World Order. Remember, 1,000 points of light, 1,000 points of light. The New World Order. So he was supported by the same agenda. And this is going on in 77 countries right now, where these same George Soros has found a way to manipulate the budgets of these countries to funnel money into this terrorist organization that is cloaked as a political organization. And that is what we have here in America. The Democratic Party is a terrorist organization, and the evidence is disgusting at this point. He was a fascist and shot Charlie in the head. and this crazy Nick Fuentes thing. And Nick Fuentes is some guy who's out on his own, doing his own thing, and doesn't really subscribe to any party. And everybody, and the cover up keeps stopping, and the cover up is ridiculous. And here's the thing: every week, you Democrats have to come up with a new cover up to cover up the fact that whatever school or church or preschool that you guys shot up that week wasn't done by a transgendered person. And the transgendered shooter is not truly at fault, in my opinion. First of all, they've been radicalized by the Democratic Party. Secondly, they've been given very dangerous drugs. I'm going to say it again. If you go to, there's no Democrat in this chat that's going to disagree with me on this. And if any of you live in the city of Dallas or Fort Worth, you can verify this. There's a testosterone clinic in downtown Fort Worth. It might not still be there, but there is a testosterone clinic in Fort Worth. And when you find it, the one that I went to with my friend who was getting treatments, who was about the size of a gorilla, about a year after he was taking these treatments, he went from a 5'6" scrawny little shit to a giant effing gorilla. And when you walk into the front door of that clinic, what you're going to see is a sitting room of people waiting to be seen by the doctor. It is about the size of the Atlantic Ocean, and everyone sitting there is wearing a police uniform. So these cops have found a loophole in the system to be able to take what is illegal unless you have a prescription. And what it's doing is turning them into big, angry motherfuckers. Okay? So what Democrat's going to disagree with that argument? And if any of you Democrats are YouTubers, I invite you to go to those clinics and walk in the front door of 2 or 3 testosterone clinics, and you are going to see 100 police officers waiting to get their shot, and half of them, I remember one guy was wearing a SWAT uniform, and he couldn't been a day over 25 years old, and he was literally the size of Lou Ferrigno getting testosterone shots. He was fucking gigantic, big and scary. Now, when you Democrats get pulled over by a cop and you look in your rearview mirror as the cop gets out of his car and he's coming up to you, and he's a big, giant muscle head, and he's grinding his fucking teeth because you went through a stop sign, and he's screaming at you in the window because you went through a stop sign in a semi-deserted neighborhood with no kids around, what you're dealing with is the anger that's caused by the testosterone. It's very dangerous. And it's especially dangerous when it's giving in even higher doses to people who are trying to do this magical, impossible thing of transitioning. Same goes for estrogen. You're going to create the same level of anger. And that's why these people are killing. So every week, you motherfuckers come up with a transgendered shooter, and then you try to cover it up by creating a fake t-shirt, which I wish I would have brought it into this chat. But this old picture where you see the Facebook posting, the words that are attached to it, somebody posted it, the shooter posted a picture of himself and had it, all the words attached, a little sentence below his little picture. And then the left went as far as putting a Donald Trump t-shirt. They changed his t-shirt with metadata. They created a new photo to make him look like he was a Trump supporter. And you guys, every week, when are you going to get tired of coming up with bullshit Nick Fuentes stories and putting MAGA on some transgendered shooter's t-shirt and finding a picture of that shooter without lipstick on? When are you guys going to stop the bullshit? Because no one fucking believes it but yourself. No one believes the bullshit that you're fucking spewing. These alternate universes that you have to create every fucking week to cover up the violence that you're creating in this country. And I assure you, the Bible says the end times will come when good is seen as evil and evil is seen as good. And that is exactly where we stand today. And for those of you who don't believe in the Bible, I invite you to read Revelations, because right now we are matched up perfectly up to chapter 17 of Revelations. It is an exact match. So if you want to know what's happening next, you anti-Christians, open up the last book of the Bible, Revelation, and read 1 through chapter 13, and then you will be up to date where we're at. See, here's our magic power as Christians. We know what's coming next because we're reading Revelation and we're in the end times. You're trying to spin Charlie Kirk's murder as a good thing. And that is the point in the Bible where it says evil will be seen as good and good will be seen as evil. Dressing up a man like a woman, which is literally a satanic activity. If you want to be president, the people who run this world are the Satanists. The people who gave us NASA are the Satanists. JPL, what's that number one Satanist guy that wrote that book? I forget the name, but the three people who started NASA and the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industries, they're all apart, publicly known of satanic cult. And in the satanic cult, what is the name of that that demon, that statue that's traveling around the country with the lamb's head and the female breasts and the penis, which is pretty much Macron's wife or husband, which is pretty much Michelle Obama. All the leaders of these countries, we have three verified. The new Prime Minister of England has a transgendered wife. The President of France has a transgendered wife. The President of the United States used to have a transgendered wife, Barack Obama and Michelle. And this is a satanic practice. We also have proven that Chuck Schumer has had, since the 1970s, a transgendered wife. We have plenty of pictures of her before and after, and Grok and GPT have both indicated when you show a picture of Chuck Schumer's wife as a 60-year-old woman and Chuck Schumer's wife as a 18-year-old boy, Grok says that this is the same person. And that's easily found out by looking at their ear. Their ear is a giant fingerprint that anyone can see. You don't even have to take fingerprints. You just look at the ear. That's how we knew Joe Biden was four different people. There was no Joe Biden. Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, and President Joe Biden have physically nothing in common. They're exactly two different people. There's no facial structure of Vice President Joe Biden that matches the facial structure of President Biden. President Biden is someone who no longer is a dead man wearing a mask. Joe Biden died well before he was president of the United States. And then they put a guy in his place with a mask on who has a completely different ear. Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, doesn't have earlobes. He's got the connected ones, but President Biden has earlobes. How the fuck did you grow earlobes at fucking 80 years old? So for those of you who are just joining us, we're going to take a moment and watch this wonderful 30-second clip.
Sorry, I know some people's sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of in the mouth.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
I said if we were in high school, I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of them.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
Okay, I just caught a comment. Dude, you need to stop with conspiracies. As I was playing the evidence required to prove that the Democratic Party is a terrorist organization. You just heard from the Democratic leaders that were all calling for violence. That's a terrorist organization. So you could live in your little world as it crumbles, but the fact is, in the real world, the actions that are being taken by the Democratic Party are terrorist acts against America. Don't cancel the channel, just report this info. You guys can report me till you're fucking blue in the face, okay? I have the First Amendment, and YouTube has backed off considerably since Donald Trump has been in office on taking down channels for First Amendment rights. I am playing facts here. Did you just watch the 30-second video? Did you just see the leaders of your party calling for violence? And by the way, Swampy and everybody else in the chat who has a wrench, you don't have to worry about taking out. It's actually probably better to leave their violent comments in, because at minimum, they're going to lose their ability to comment on anything for 1 day or 3 days if they're a repeat offender. Jesus Christ is king, and his justice is coming, and it is coming. And these people in the chat that are angry, see, there's two types of people in the chat. There's people who are willing to have a conversation about this, and then there are people who don't have any ground to stand on, so they throw threats and put downs and weird emojis because they know they're wrong. And whoever, I would love to get to the bottom of whoever said Nick Fuentes. I mean, we already have. The FBI is about to charge let's get that up. Okay, I got to take something down. Let's get this up. The FBI is about to charge this transgendered person next to the shooter as an accomplice to the murder. So we have an entire group of people who are saying this is not a transgendered related incident. It's not the 47th trans related incident of the year, which is literally, there's been 49 school shootings this year. 47 of them are contributed to transgendered people. And we're only in September, and there's 47 school shootings. And all of them, and here's the other thing, is the Democrats in the chat who watch mainstream news, which has been propagandized since 2013, when Obama took down the what was the name of the act? It was a propaganda act and was named after a woman, that you couldn't put propaganda out on American airwaves, and he abolished that act. And since then, we've been getting propagandized. So no one in this chat heard the whole video when the woman was stabbed in North Carolina. After the stabbing, when the black guy says, "I killed that white woman, I killed that white woman." So they cut that part out, if they even did show it on the news. And then CNN's running saying, why is the right saying this is a race attack against a racial, it's a race attack. And it is a racial attack because you guys didn't see the whole video where the guy with the bloody knife, as this lady's splurting out blood, said, "I killed that white woman, I killed that white woman." And the guy is crazy. But all of you guys are crazy, and you're literally put yourself into the Super Bowl of craziness by listening to your politicians. And your politicians are turning you into monsters. And that's exactly what's happening. Your response to anything does not parallel how the world worked before the year 2000, before the iPhone 4. You guys are completely fucking nuts and off the rails because of the propaganda that you're fed. The good news is most of you are fully vaccinated, and you're about to see how it just turns out the White House, Donald Trump admitted, it might be the first time, he admitted he might be wrong and he made a mistake. And you could find the footage. And he says maybe the vaccine mandates, or not the mandates, but the vaccine rollout, what do you call it, Project Hyper or something, hyper speed. Maybe that wasn't a good thing, because it turns out that Pfizer is covering up a lot of data. And it turns out that people are getting very sick and dying very quickly. And it all seemed to happen around the time that we rolled out the vaccines. Donald Trump himself said that. We already knew it as a community. We were told early, the real news, the actual news, not the propaganda that you find on ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, have indicated to us early on not to participate in the punch in the arm. And we didn't, but you guys did. And you're dying like flies. You're dropping like flies. And that's okay with me. And that is another bonus to the battle that we're in if you're not a Democrat. Because the problem is taking care of itself. As these, what do they call it, turbo cancers, myocarditis. I mean, I put out a video that featured, and this was 1 year after COVID, where over 1,000 people between the ages of 15 and 30 died on the field of a heart attack. Perfectly healthy soccer players across the world, football players, high school kids in America dropping dead. My offspring have a friend who is also affected by the punch in the arm that most of you received. All right. Dropping like flies, but like your watchers. Yeah, but so what? I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not doing this for how many people are in there. Give it 10 minutes, it'll be back up to 400. These are just people scrolling through YouTube. It's not, none of these people in here are subscribers, maybe 10%. The rest of you guys are all just scrolling. Let's see. Only one side has been calling for violence for 10 years now. Yes. The Democratic Party. Obama just said 2 days ago, after Charlie Kirk was killed, so maybe it was, it's just about 2 days now, he said, you need to stay angry. You are angry. So he's projecting onto his followers, you are angry. And then he follows it up by saying, you need to stay angry after Charlie Kirk's murder. So he is perpetuating the next murder. The Democratic Party is a terrorist organization. The thing is that the Democrats aren't smart enough to attack anyone with any validity. They just attack other people who have no consequential influence on the outcome of the world. They kill innocent women on a train. They kill innocent children in a school. They kill innocent people at a shopping mall. I remember that one. That was like 2020. That was like I think that was like the third or fourth transgender shooter that we had, that he walked out of the bathroom with the semi-automatic rifle and started shooting up the cafeteria part of the mall. And then that little Mexican kid, he was just 18 years old. He had his conceal and carry. He was with his girlfriend on a date. He took out his handgun, and with one shot, he took down the transgendered shooter in the mall. And I bet you he had some of the best sex of his life. And he's an American hero, that little 18-year-old kid. But you guys continually walk into places where there is no resistance. I don't see any transgendered shooters walking into police stations. When's that one going to happen? When are you guys going to give? I mean, the school shooting thing, 47 school shootings this year, all except one was committed by a transgendered person. When are you guys going to come up with a new act? You know, I mean, Chris Rock can only do the same comedy act on tour for so long before he's got to write new jokes. When are you guys going to write new jokes? When are you going to walk into a police station? When are you going to walk into an army barracks? You're not, because you're cowards, and you want to fight children with weapons because you're angry, because no one with no straight male will accept you as a female. And it's never going to happen. You can't force it. You guys could have took the high road and had demonstrations where you hand out flowers, where where transgendered women go up to men and give them flower. Here's a flower. Here's a rose. Here's a rose. Here's a hug. Can I have a hug? Hug a tranny day. When is there going to be hug a tranny day? Never. No, because you guys took the wrong road to prove a point that is, and the formula that you use to prove your point embeds the inability for your point to ever be proven, because you constantly walk into spaces where people are not prepared to defend themselves, and you open fire on innocent and take innocent lives. See, my idea is to cut off the head of the snake, and you guys keep attacking the tail of your snake. So it kind of doesn't work. Chuck, who is dumber, the person who speaks or the person who listens to him? Chuck's telling me I'm dumb, but he's here adding money to my pocket every time he types into my chat. Cartman master debater here. So the point is that you guys will never take the high road. You guys will never call for, you're never going to get what you want. Here's the bottom line. And you look more foolish every time you go online and try and debate specifically transgendered people, who I have nothing against. And I've seen, I'm friends with transgendered people. I have nothing against their lifestyle, but I understand that the drugs that they're being given to transition is turning them into angry monsters. And it's very dangerous. And I'm not sure that giving him those estrogen injections are even necessary, because the best you're going to get out of it is a change of a voice. You're not going to grow a vagina. And the only thing a doctor can do is turn you into a eunuch. There's no plastic surgeon on the planet that could turn you into a woman. And if you believe mentally you are a woman, what's the sense in transitioning? To prove to the rest of the world that you're a woman? Don't you just need to prove it to yourself? Why does everybody else have to believe it? I don't need anyone in this chat to believe I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person. I don't want any transgendered people to get hurt. I do want them to stop hurting children and walking into schools and shooting the fuck out of them. But everyone in here who disagrees with me watched ABC's late night news last night. And they get their news from the propagandist who cut out the part of the video of the woman in North Carolina getting killed when the black guy says, I killed that white woman, I killed that white woman. And then they say it's not race related. It's very race related. But here's the good news. There are more black Americans on the Republican side right now. America's 17% African American. In 1960, America was a little over 20%, 22, 23% African American. And then Nancy Pelosi, her senior year in college, wrote a bill to legalize abortion nationally. And the consequences of that were 251 abortion clinics were open across America. 251. One of those was in Appalachia, in a white neighborhood. The other 250 were spread, like literally, there was 4 or 5 in every state, only in black neighborhoods. So in 1970, if a white woman wanted to have an abortion, she had to go to a black neighborhood. So the black population has been consistent since the 70s, since the abortion, about 5 years after the abortion clinics were open, the black population has been consistent at 17% because the abortion clinics. There is no lack of pregnancies in the black community. However, there is an inability to grow the black community because the Democrats legalized abortion. And now that becomes, instead of not getting pregnant or being on the pill or taking responsibility for the child that you have in your womb, they have dumbed you down to participate in a demonic sacrifice of your child, which is exactly what it is. And what they do with those babies is they sell them. That's why there's a lot of money you could get. Like, they sell babies by the pound. And the later the abortion is, so if you aborted fetus at 8 weeks, not really worth much. An aborted fetus at 4, 5, 6 months is worth a shitload of money, because there are scientific companies throughout the world that buy our dead babies. And that's why abortion will always be legal, because it's a big business. All you're doing is providing product for that abortion clinic to send throughout the world for them to take stem cells out of, do experiments on, all sorts of different things that they're doing, taking fetal tissue, skin tissue. That's what happens. Go find out the process of what happens with the aborted babies. They're sold for big money. And the later they can get, the more weight they can get inside of your unborn baby, the more money that baby's worth. In some cases, the babies are big enough to sell off by themselves, but in most cases, you get a bag and it's sold by the pound. So all you're doing is using your womb to create a gift from God that you abort and you give to science. And these science labs are not legal in the United States. We've outlawed that because we're trying to prevent it, but they've loopholed it to where these babies are going off to China. They freeze them in a freezer and they ship them off to China mostly. And China takes apart our dead babies. And if that's what you want to do, great. But you got to understand that it is Moloch. That is the name of the transgender demon that represents, and marrying a Moloch like a Michelle Obama or a Macron or whoever the guy in Britain is with his transgendered wife, that gives you a lot of clout in the satanic community. And the Satanic Church is not bigger than the Christian church, but much more powerful. For instance, Peggy Pritzker, the sister of the governor of Illinois, is the head of the Satanic Church in Illinois. And her office, the office of the Satanic Church in Illinois, is on Wabash in the Civic Opera building on the 3rd floor. And I think the suite number is 3045 or 345. And Peggy Pritzker has twice as much money as her billionaire brother. Or what is it, 100 million? I don't want to quote the dollar amount. We all know Pritzker is a millionaire, a very wealthy man, but his sister has twice as much money from the Hyatt Regency Hotel family. That's where they're from. So, but Peggy ended up with more money, and then Pritzker's other brother is a transgendered, high-ranking person in the Illinois National Guard. So, if you put a wig on Pritzker, Governor Pritzker, that's exactly what his brother looks like, dressed like a girl. I'm not racist. My last 4 out of 5 girlfriends were not just black. They were purple. They were, when you turn your TV screen off, that's what color my last 4 girlfriends were. And they were all from the Caribbean islands, different islands, Barbados, yada, yada. And the last one happened to be a lawyer, a civil rights lawyer. And she's one of my best friends today, except for she is not indoctrinated by the Democratic Party. She's a Republican because she sees clearly what's going on in the world today. So don't tell me I'm a racist. What do you know about me? You're projecting yourself on me. What you're doing right now is called projection. Okay, when you determine who someone else is, when you don't know that other person, it's called projecting. So we know who you are now because you're projecting your feelings on us. The fact that you even recognize race. I mean, I just got done explaining that the Democratic Party has been holding the black community at 17% of the United States when they should be closer to 30%. But they can't reach anything past 17% because of abortion clinics. And you're calling me a racist? I just gave every black person in America the answer to the question to why we can't grow. And you're calling me a racist? I just gave you the formula to grow past 17% For the last 50 years, you've been stuck at 17%. And I'm sitting here giving you the answer to the question of how we get to 30%, and you're calling me a racist? You're a racist. You're a racist. I'm telling you that Nancy Pelosi put 250 abortion clinics in America, and only one of them is not in a black neighborhood. How am I the racist? I should have just scared the shit out of every black person in this chat. They should be scared to death right now, going, holy shit, they've been doing this to us the whole time. We could easily be at 30%. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how much money the black Americans of the black community in America would control if they were at 30% of the population, which if they never aborted one baby, they would easily be? And you're calling me a racist? That's ridiculous. I would much rather see the black community be 30%, control 30% of the money in the United States. And if the black community, if there's any black young kids out here that are listening right now and you want to be a millionaire, and if you want to be and you put your heart to it, you can be, let me tell you a shortcut. Find a niche in your community. Become a millionaire only with black customers. There's something in your community that your community needs or wants that you can provide for them that will turn you into a millionaire. Is it good coffee? Is it a donut shop? Is it a hair product? Is it a skin tone product or a skin lotion? There's something in your community that you can offer to your community. Remember Jet Magazine? That was Jet Magazine in the 80s. It's owned by white people now, if it even still exists. I know it got bought out by a white company, by a predominantly a white-owned company. But Jet Magazine was a response to the black community not having a magazine that focused on them. So if you're a black American, you understand your community, you understand the needs of your community, and you can easily, I mean, not easily, but it is easy. If you put your heart, your mind, and your hours to it, and you're willing to work 20 hours a day, you can be a millionaire based strictly off of black community money. And I want that for you. And I want you to be at 30%. And I want you to control 30% of the money in America. But Nancy Pelosi took that ability away from you guys back in, was it 67 or 69? She wasn't even in Congress yet. She was a senior in college. And she brought you abortion clinics because they didn't want you to grow past seven. Well, they wanted you to stop. I think you were at 22% of America back in the late 60s. And they knocked you down to 17%. A bunch of you died off, and the rest of you went and had abortions. Do you see the evil in that? At some point, are you guys going to wake up and say, oh boy, all these things they're doing for us aren't good? If you got punched in the arm with a vax, look at this, go to 7pillars.com, where there are hundreds of thousands of doctors all over the world who are giving statistics about their patients who have died after taking the mRNA in their arm. And you guys are standing in line for the next one because the propaganda that was legalized by Obama in 2013 in the news media is telling you to take it. But every single news episode that you watch is sponsored by who? Pfizer. Every time you see a Pfizer commercial on television, especially if it's delivering pertinent information, you need to know you're being lied to. Because what news program in the world is going to say, hey, wait a minute, guys, there seems to be a problem with these vaccines if they're sponsored by Pfizer? If Pfizer is writing the check for the show that night? If Pfizer's contributing to the $6 million that newscaster is going to make this year? You think they're going to fucking tell you the truth if the news is sponsored by Pfizer? How many times is it not locked in your head? Tonight's program is sponsored by Pfizer. Tonight's program is brought to you by Pfizer. Why did Pfizer sponsor every news outlet in the world for 5 years? To control what they say on TV. They knew what they're doing because Pfizer is an extension of the Nazi party that was brought in Project Paperclip, which is a public, it's not conspiracy. The whole world knew Project Paperclip was going on after World War II, and we took all of the smartest people in Germany, Nazi Germany, and brought them to America. And that's how we got NASA. NASA was started by the Nazis. That's how we got JPL. That's how we got the CIA. The CIA was literally started with people who were fighting for Hitler. And you guys don't see the connection yet? All of the pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer is. If you go back, if you actually look at how many American companies were started in Nazi Germany that are gigantic today, there's dozens of them. And Pfizer's one of those companies. Pfizer's still run by a fucking German. He literally sounds like a fucking a Warner Brothers cartoon. His voice is so Nazi Germany. These drugs don't do anything. What all of a sudden autism, which never existed, it was 1 in 12,000 kids were autistic in 1988, and now it's 1 in 12 kids are autistic. And this is who you're fighting for. You Democrats are literally protecting the people that are killing you. They're killing you. They're not killing us. We got early word not to get shot in the arm. We knew ahead of time how dangerous mRNA, and you know how we knew? Is because our news sources were interviewing the guy who invented mRNA vaccines, who worked with Fauci, and he said, I told Fauci, you can't put this into humans, and Fauci did it. The man who actually invented mRNA has been going around the country for 5 years and saying that this is dangerous. This turns 2 strands of DNA into 3 strands of DNA, which technically, and this is out of the words of the man who invented mRNA, mRNA is adding a strand of DNA to your 2-strand DNA, which technically voids you from being human because humans have 2 strands of DNA. And if you are fully vaccinated, you have 3 strands of DNA throughout your whole body. Look it up. I wish I could remember the name of the guy who invented the mRNA, but go on to Google right now and put in who invented mRNA vaccines, or mRNA, not vaccines, just mRNA. Take that name and bring it to Rumble or YouTube, but Rumble. And then listen to that man speak about what they put in your body. The man who fucking invented it said, you cannot put this in human beings. It'll kill them. And here you are, waiting for the next shot. You're going to get it free from Walgreens. Why do you think it's free? Don't look at the Democratic or Republican. I could look at all. Very true. Because a giant, see, the Democratic Party as a whole is a terrorist organization, but over 50% of the Republicans are actually members of that organization. They just label themselves as Republicans. I'll throw Republicans under the bus too. I voted for Obama twice. I've been voting Democrat since the 80s. And I saw the evil in the Bush family. And the Bush family is very much part of this Democratic terrorist organization. Although they say out loud they're Republicans, they're not Republicans or Democrats. There really truly is no Democrats or Republicans. It's globalists wearing the cloak of a Democrat. Governor Newsom is not a Democrat. He's a globalist wearing Democratic clothing. AOC is definitely not a Democrat. She is a globalist. She's controlled by globalists, and she's wearing Democratic clothing. Maxine Waters is a globalist wearing Democratic clothing. George Bush Sr. and Jr. are Republicans, are globalists wearing Republican, cloaked as Republicans. And until the other side, the remaining Democratic constituents, figure that out, we got nothing. Or they got nothing. We understand the truth, but they're waking up. And after the Charlie Kirk shooting, the Democratic Party probably lost 5 to 7% of its constituents that have given up, because not just because of the shooting, but because of the response to the shooting by the radicalists who claim to be Democrat. So the middle ground Democrats are saying, I can't be a part of this. This is not what I represent. This is not what I think. This is not what I believe. And maybe my Republican uncle was right the whole time when he told me not to get the jab. How many of you Democrats, I know you're not going to answer this, how many Democrats in this live stream right now had a family member tell them not to get vaccinated? Hopefully you got a chilling feeling when I said that, because almost all of you had someone in your family tell you that the mRNA was dangerous. And now President Trump is coming out saying it looks like this COVID jab was dangerous and hurt a lot of people. And we're going to look into it. And right now, Pfizer is under investigation and may be charged with the murder of millions and millions of Americans. Depopulation. Gates' father started the depopulation movement. The AIDS virus itself was invented by the man who discovered it. His name is Fauci. Ironically, 40 years later, the same guy discovered COVID-19. And he's the same guy who invented it and came up with the cure. Just like he did for, people with AIDS weren't dying from AIDS. They were dying from the injection they were getting to fight the AIDS. Just like cancer victims. And here's the funny part. It's not even the funny part. Is that the Democrats who are now dealing with turbo cancer are going to radiation treatment, which just kills them slowly. When all of us, all of your opponents on the right side, all the people in the Patriot community now know that for $20 they can go to Farm and Fleet and get the cure, because cancer is a parasite. It's just a parasite. It's like a tapeworm. It's not a worm. It's more like a bug, but cancer is simply a parasite. And it's always been a parasite, and it could be treated like a parasite, and the cancer goes away. And the cancer travels through your body through the same systems and mechanisms that parasites do. The route of travel of a parasite is the same route of travel of cancer. And when you take these, let's see if I have it. Let's see if I have a picture of the cure. I thought I did. Oh, no, I don't. No, I don't. But you're going to have to find it. I'm not going to say it. There are two of them. I have them both on my table. I take them daily. I have felt a lot better. I passed a tapeworm that was 4 foot long, and I put him in a tank, and I'm keeping him. And I'm going to name him. We're going to probably name him on my fun channel. And we'll do a little thing. You better get that cancer treatment ASAP. Well, I'm in the middle of actually taking it. And I actually have skin cancer. And I've been applying ivermectin to it. And it was dark brown. And now it's pretty much the same color as my regular skin. And it's not a big bump anymore. And it is disappearing. So I do actually have 3 spots of skin cancer on me right now. And I am treating it with ivermectin. And it is going away. It's no longer big and brown and very tall. It was like a big mole. And now it's flat and it's pink. Because doctors said, turns out ivermectin works on skin cancer. Just put it on your arm, put it right on them little spots and watch them fade away. And that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, I know. I'm feeding the worm. I feed a deep dish pizza. So anyways, the Democratic Party is a terrorist organization. They have proven themselves to be that. They need to be treated like that. I believe it should be a military operation. And until we cut the head off of that snake, figuratively speaking, America won't heal. And you Democrats won't be able to provide for your children the same America that you grew up in. You know, I remember watching it was 60 Minutes had they had a piece they did where they went around America and spoke to black people and said, do you believe, and this is like 1986, do you believe there's racial tension in America? And they couldn't find, or at least they did not provide anyone saying yes. They couldn't find anyone in America, any black people in America that felt that there was racial tension. And there wasn't. I mean, my high school happened to have, by freshman year, one black guy. And he was the funniest guy in the school and everybody loved him. You could probably argue, as far as the non-jocks go, he was the most popular guy in the school. And he dated white girls. And in that school, if you used the N-word, you were shunned amongst 100%. I mean, what do you say? 99.999% white school. There were no Mexicans in the school. It was in a very, very wealthy neighborhood. We had one black kid, but no one could say the N-word. No one can get away with saying that. You were shunned. You were looked at like an idiot if you said the N-word in a hateful way. And that's what the 80s were. And the Democrats are trying to rewrite history and make it look like that people didn't get along. I mean, pre-1964 in the South, people didn't get along. But then the South was all Democrats. You see, the only time black people had problems in the South is when the South was controlled by Democrats. The Republicans were up north at the time. There's been a big switch. And now black people are having problems in the north. You see, they're not having problems in the Republican areas. They're having the problems that they had 100 years ago in the Democratic areas are the problems they're having in the north now, where the Democrats now rule, as the Republicans rule the South. There are no problems and there are no lynchings in the South. Why? Because all those Democrats moved north. And LBJ was smart enough to quote LBJ, we'll have those niggers voting Democrat for 100 years, when he handed out the original government surplus money to poor black people, EBT. If you're divorced, we're going to give you a pile of money. Well, guess what? They get divorced or they don't get married, so they can get this puny little government check that barely feeds their family, and then get some free government cheese. And the government cheese program turned into an EBT card. And that's how the Democrats control the black community, with the EBT card, with the government cheese. So that's when they stopped lynching the black people, because they found them easier to control by giving them benefits. And when those black people effed up, they would take those benefits away. So as long as you stay in line, stay on the plantation, we're going to give you some government cheese. That was the Democrats who did that. They weren't trying to help the black people. They were hurting the black people. Before LBJ, the black community was self-sufficient. The black community, the black community were driving Cadillacs. They were driving Lincolns. They could afford a house just like a white person. It may not be in the same neighborhood, but those neighborhoods that the black people owned at the time were very nice neighborhoods. The black community took care of their houses, took care of their lawns. They didn't have crime in the streets. And then LBJ comes along with a program that takes their income down to the normal income and cuts it down to a third and says, shit, you can stay home. We're going to give you some money every month. We're going to give you almost no money every month for free. Some government cheese, some shitty bologna for your kids, and some stale bread. All you have to do is sit there and be a good black person. So wherever the Democrats go, havoc will happen. I mean, where is that happening in a Republican area? That is what I'm following. I can't miss out on the wisdom coming from this guy. Yep, well, welcome to it. And I don't need you to agree with me. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know the Democratic Party, which I was a part of for 30 years. I know what you have become. You're probably not old enough to even remember the 80s. You don't remember what the Democratic Party was. The Democratic Party was JFK. I'm a JFK Democrat, even still today. I'm not even a Republican. But I'm certainly not a part of the party that is destroying America today. All they're doing is race baiting. The only intention of the Democratic Party, I'll play it again, they're trying to start a race war. But the problem is that the patriot community, which you might call Republicans, but MAGA is not Republican. Donald Trump was a Democrat right up until the day he ran for president. Democratic Party would not let him run. Hillary was their girl. So he flipped Republican. He's been a Democrat his whole life. He's from New York. He's always been Democrat. Rudy Giuliani, a Democrat. Switched Republican. Why? Because the Democratic Party became a party of terrorism. Their words are divisive. They are pushing for violence. They are requesting violence in the streets. And I already played that video. That was their biggest mistake for us, because then he got to see what they truly were about. And now once you see, you can't unsee it. Very true. And the same thing happened to me at a smaller level. And that's why I wish I had a Democratic Party, but I don't. I have globalists who have overtaken my party. My Democratic Party has become a communist party. It's no longer people who love America and love the flag. It is a party of people who hate America and hate the flag. That's exactly what it is. All right. Well, I'm going to go take a leak and feed my tapeworm. And I hope you all on both sides of the coin have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. And I hope something nice happens to you today. I hope something fills your heart with warmth. And I hope you dig deeper and watch channels like, there's a Spanish woman out of Texas who delivers the best news because she does not give her opinion. She just gives you the truth. And I'll put her into the post section of this channel if any Democrats want to hear the truth without opinion. You'll in a million years, you could probably never guess what party this woman belongs to. She does not invoke her opinion. And that's the problem with CNN. CNN isn't even news. It's 100% opinion. They give you half the story, and the lies are always 2-part truth, 1-part lie. Just like the story with the woman being killed in North Carolina where they said it wasn't a racial killing, that it was not based on race. When the man who stabbed her stood over her body as she died and said, "I got that white woman, I got that white woman." But CNN cut off that part of the video so they can argue this is not a racist attack. I saw the whole video and I know what he said. Right on. But the people in here who are disagreeing with me didn't see it. And if they just went to go look for the whole video, half of them would be mad because they've been lied to, and the other half would be happy that they've been lied to. Like they're in on it. Like, ha, 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 look at this. We really switched this one up. So at least some of them who are truly searching for the truth, just for this particular instance, North Carolina woman, she was a Ukrainian woman. She was a BLM supporter, and she was randomly picked by a black man to be murdered on a train. And then he said, "I got that white woman. I got that white woman." So if any of you are under the suspicion that that was not race related, please go look for the whole video. The truth will always find the crack to come through true. And it does. And that's why every single week they got to come up with some crazy Nick Fuentes story to cover up the transgendered shooting of Charlie Kirk. It was trans motivated because the shooter's girlfriend was trans and she's about to be charged with a conspiracy to commit murder with her boyfriend. Try to plug a crack. True. All right, Lionel Wayne, you have a beautiful day. I'm going to go feed my tapeworm. Peace and love worldwide. Live your life before your life lives you.